Okay, guys, thank you for joining us on episode 2 of Shark Talk with me, Sharky. And actually, I'm super excited for this session because we have with us here, uh, I'm sure many of you already know him, and many of you heard. Many of you already had some fantastic dive with Walter, who didn't really. I think you should do that as soon as you can when all the lockout and madness gone. But we are really super lucky today because we have a legend with us, and I really mean it. We have a legend in shark diving. He's been there for forever, so many years. He's fantastic, talented, always doing the new stuff, always bringing the extra mile. You can, yeah, it's really one of the, if you like into what if you're into car racing and you talk about Schumacher, whatever you say the names, we are with the legend really of shark diving here. So thank you, Walter, fantastic for joining us. I'm really happy that you took the time, stayed awake when it's late for you, I know. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for such a fantastic introduction. Uh, it's a pleasure being here, and hopefully I can make it interesting and share some stories with you guys. And now you've disappeared. Can you believe these things?
He froze. Can you hear me, Walter?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But Ahmed's gone.
I know, his computer froze.
Uh,
So I wish he would have shared the questions with us.
well,
See.
maybe I should just chat about myself a bit.
I think that's a great idea.
So
Yeah.
used to talking about myself. Well, my name is Walter Bernardis. For those of you that don't know, I was always loved the ocean, always interested in the sea, surfing, diving, scuba diving came along a lot later. And I think I did my open water one around 1982. And from there became a dive master. That's where I've stayed. I haven't pursued the instruction side of it. I was more into taking people out there, showing them what our reef has to offer, and that's what I've been all about. I was a teacher for 30 years. Gave that up to pursue the diving career at a late age, I suppose, but nevertheless, yeah, it's been fantastic, and it's been a fantastic road for me going diving all over the world, meeting different people, being exposed to different situations. It's been really fantastic and a real opportunity for little town boy like me. I was born here in Nkomazi, and I've lived here my whole life. And to go around the world was it's very, very Guadalupe, the great whites there, going to do the Nile crocs in Botswana, and well, that's about it. I haven't been too many bloody places ever. So anyway,
Walter, Abdullah wants to know where you had your first dive at.
Where I did my first dive. It was, well, in those days, you were a Naui. I did a Naui sport dive, and that qualified you down to 40 meters. And there were no dive boats out here. The fishermen used to take you out. And the Jansen brothers were commercial fishermen in this area. And they decided one day that to a local wreck to take a piece out the propeller to see if it was bronze or cast iron. So my first dive was down to, my first sort of solo dive, you could say, was down to 27 meters on the Nebo. And we went and cut the little piece out the propeller to see what kind of metal it was. And yeah, I'll never forget the experience, because I looked up and I saw all this water above me, and I had this like, sure, I don't know what kind of feeling, you're in a different world, eh? And yeah, I left it for quite a long time. I just drove boats. I drove divers in and out all day on weekends and holidays while I was teaching. And then once the shark diving started, sort of in the late 80s, then I sort of got re-interested in the whole thing. The Cousteau guys came over here, and that was my first sort of baiting experience with sharks, and those were with the spotted ragged tooth sharks. And we thought, well, that was very exciting, And later on with the tigers and the great whites and the bulls. And it's been a fantastic journey for me of discovery and of trying to introduce people to the shark diving, in general. As you know, I think a lot of people are scared of sharks. Well, I'm also scared of a shark, but I mean, I respect them, and I've learned how to, dive with them. And but some people just don't entertain the idea at all, and they're more like, if we save the whales and the turtles, the dolphins, we're going to save the ocean. We know we need people to get to understand the shark's position in the ecosystem. And the only way we can change people's minds is not by reading something or seeing something on maybe the TV, is actually bringing the people to experience it. And that's what I try and do. It's fantastic for me to see somebody who tells me they absolutely don't want to dive with sharks, they're petrified of sharks. But I tell them, look, I'm also scared. Anybody that tells me he's not scared when he jumps in the water with the apex predator is either lying or mad, So one has to have a very healthy respect for these animals. And so fear is good, in my opinion. Panic is bad. Once you start panicking, then you start, getting into big trouble. So bringing people in contact with sharks, unfortunately, the only way you can reliably do that is by baiting, chumming, whatever you want. And
but let me stop you here, Walter, and let's take it slowly. Sorry, I cut off. I had electricity cut off, but actually, we wanted to talk here mainly today about the apex predator. So let's start from there and tell us a little bit more. What do we mean when we say apex predator?
Well, for me, apex predators are your bull shark, your Zambezi, same shark, your tiger, and your great white. I don't really put any one above the other. The biggest shark that was ever caught was, I think, it was 7.8 meter tiger in Hawaii. That's recorded. That's bigger than any recorded great white in, as far as I know. So all these sharks get really big. They all have the potential to be the apex predator. So I see them all equally important in the food chain up there,
Yeah. And when you actually, when we speak about diving with them, so let's say, I know Walter, for many people, he's really the leader in diving with tigers and bulls. So how does it feel diving with a tiger or diving with a bull? Is there a difference? Is there a difference in your preparation? Is there a difference in your in the water when you're looking at them, or looking which one is here and all that? Does it really feel any difference?
In our waters, you can't say that you're going to go and dive in another area like maybe Guadalupe or Fiji or Cape Town. you know, they behave differently in different zones. But all the ones we've had here, the bull sharks, the tigers, the great whites, they've all behaved exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you apply the rules to, you know, we've been to the School of Knox, we've learned what works, what doesn't work, and we try and incorporate that into our briefings when we take our divers out there. And if the people listen to the briefings, they follow the rules, they're pretty much guaranteed of a fun, safe dive, you know?
Yeah. But you were mentioning before I stopped you that it's not possible to get a chance to dive with these magnificent creature, which is the apex predators, without having a baited dive. So I know there will be a lot of questions and a lot of people who are pro and actually against baited diving. But let's put people a little bit into understanding what do you mean by baited dive? How do you do the baited dive? How does it operate, and why do you make a baited dive to be able to see these predators?
The thing is with sharks, there is sort of natural sightings of sharks. Maybe on the Allowell Shoal, you'll get about 7 a year, where either a great white or a tiger or a bull. The bulls maybe a few more natural sightings per year. But if you're wanting people into contact with sharks, you've got to attract them with food. Okay, and that's chumming. Baiting the chumming is basically very small particles of food. There's nothing for the shark to actually eat, but baiting is where there are actually physically pieces of food, and the shark can eat those pieces of food. Now, you know, we gotta understand that we gotta try and break the mold that the shark's seen in, and the only way we you know that what the whole saying is, you only love what you only love what you understand. You only understand what you taught. And when it comes to sharks, you know, you're taught fear. You're taught fear all the time. And we try and change that perception in people to see them in a different light, to see that they aren't just mindless killers. They specialized animals. They've got their place in the ecosystem. They do live in the ocean. They are known to bite people every now and then. And if we go into their environment, into the ocean, and we don't follow the rules, the chances are something's going to go wrong. And it's not their fault, you know. It's like me strolling through the Kruger National Park, dragging a buck behind me, and then a lion attacks me. Well, you know, I'm asking for it.
So I'll take the other. I totally understand and agree with you on that, Walter. But I will take the other group debate and actually create a debate with you now. So you're telling me that you're jumping in the water with a drum line full of sardines, and there's a lower one full of even bigger fish. Okay, and then you start chumming and feeding. And you want to convince me that nothing's going to happen having tigers and bull around you? How this is possible?
Well, you know, every person that works with bait and chum, they'll be able to tell you that you control the bait or the chum, and you can control the shark. You can pick up the intensity, and you can drop it down by what you do with the food. So,
what do you mean, Walter? You can explain a bit more on that.
Okay, so the more food you start throwing out, the more of a feeding frenzy these sharks are going to make you. Okay, and the less you throw out, obviously they will start interacting with you on a more calm and less frenzied activity. It's just so you can control the intensity of the actual dive by controlling the food you're putting out. And, you know, if there are very nervous divers, for say, that have never dived with sharks and never dived with apex predators, you want to introduce them into the whole system in a nice, calm, you know, systematic way, where where the action is more predictable. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a question already here. So someone is asking you, what is the difference? Can you explain the difference between baiting and chumming one more time? What do you mean by baiting and chumming?
Chumming is just the scent, the smell that's going out in the water. You do have small particles of food as well, but they have been chopped up really small. And baiting is, in my understanding of it, is where there's more chunks of food and you're either hand feeding or you're just throwing the food out the bucket, and the sharks are actually feeding on that food. They're not just smelling the smell, they're actually getting a reward as well. So that's a difference between the two, as far as I know.
So I'll go back to you, Walter. You're hovering beside the drum, taking the sardines out, and we have the black tips all around us, and occasionally the big boys are coming in whenever to feed and so on. So why don't they actually turn around and snap at you or at any of the crew or the clients around you in the water? And we know in South Africa the visibility is not great. So what's stopping sharks from really having, in the middle of all this frenzy, in the middle of all this smell and everything smell like fish, and there are actually fish around all the clients? Why don't you have an incident more frequent? Or actually, what happens there?
Well, the sharks don't see us as food, you know. Accidents do happen. And especially the person that's controlling the bait, if you don't have chainmail suit and all that, guaranteed you're going to have a scar or two in your career. Yeah. But that's just part of the game as far as I'm concerned. But they don't see us as food. And, you know, a shark has got the way I think about it, a shark's got a very simple brain. And it's like a 3-pole switch. That shark is in cruise mode. I'm not saying the shark is stupid. The shark does what it does very well. It can navigate the oceans. It can find its food. You know, it can come back to where, to a specific reef every season, say every summer, and then go back to wherever it goes to. A lot of these migrations we don't even know about. We study a lot about the great white, but the other shark we don't study a lot of. So what is the point I was making there?
You were telling us about the 3 modes. I remember the sharks have 3 modes, guys. This is quite interesting. So yes, so the first one is
the middle one is cruise mode. Okay.
The middle one is cruise mode.
Yes. So he's cruising around. He's looking for food. And the other one is fight, or the other one is flight. So it's either you're going to scare it away and it's going to leave the area, or it's going to go more into a feeding mode where it starts getting a little bit dangerous. And we like to keep the sharks in like the cruise, sort of interested towards the fight sort of mode, but we don't want a full-on attack mode, you know, done by them, and we don't want the flight mode. So it's a juggling game of keeping them in that interested sort of state where they stay around, they don't leave, but they're not maybe getting a reward or whatever the case is, and we have a nice interaction that is safe with them.
And what do you possibly do if you find a shark that actually went into the full-on mode that as you mentioned?
Well, I haven't encountered this shark yet, you know. I haven't encountered a shark.
Believe it or not, huh?
No, I really haven't. I haven't seen, maybe it's because of the controlled environment that we're in all the time. And, but I haven't seen a shark go into that full attack mode. I have seen them doing exploratory bites, that kind of thing, and then realizing that what they've bitten isn't their food and letting it go, because I think they can actually taste with their teeth, as like we can to a certain extent. You know, as they bite, they can taste, oh, this is not right, and they let it go. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't take much, I must say, in all of that. It doesn't seem to take much to flick a shark from cruise to attack and from cruise to flight. It just can be one flash of something. Can be the flash of a fin. It can be, you know, a host of different things. A movement of your fin, a color flash, something like that that sparks that attack mode off. And you know, once it's sparked, it's very difficult to change that shark's mind. So we've learned to try and nullify all the triggers that would trigger that attack mode in a shark. So in our briefing, in other words, we tell the people, okay, I think you could sum it up in 2 golden rules when you dive with predators. Number 1, don't look like food. If you look like food, they might think you are food. And number 2, don't act like food. Because if you act like prey, they will act like predator. So applies in life, I suppose, as well. Some predators out there, and some people act as prey. And anyway, let's not go into all that nonsense. But yeah.
No, you're actually dragging us into very interesting ones. But before I go there, I have a question from your friend here, and he's asking you, tell us more about the full attack mode of sharks in the sardine run frenzies.
Sure. I tell you what, you can ask my dive master. He's most probably listening here.
He is, and he is the one asking, by the way.
Yeah. And you know what? He had 3 very big duskies go for him at this very same time.
Whoa!
And so
3 big duskies
saw exactly the same thing, and they all reacted at the same time and just rushed him. And at the last minute, sort of veered away. And yeah, you can. When he got back home, he didn't argue about what I told him. I said, take your fins and scrape that silver Cressy sign off. Because the Cressy sign, although they're very nice fins, why put the Cressy sign in silver when you're diving with sardines? And that thing sees the flash of that fin, it thinks it's a sardine, and it's on you like a flash. By the time it's worked out that you're not a sardine, well, it might be a little bit too late to get away with minor cuts and abrasions. But he was lucky, he got away with it.
That's good. Let me, before jumping to the, actually, there's a very good questions about what to wear and how what to do, like you mentioned. But we've been just joined about a very good friend of yours and mine. So I would just want to say hello to Christina. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to, if you're with us, just you can open the mic and tell us hello. Hello.
Hello, Christina.
Hi, Walter.
Ciao, Bella. Come va?
Bene, grazie.
All good. Fantastic. Jeez, I think the last time we met was in Dima in 2013
decade ago?
Something. Eh?
A decade ago?
A decade ago.
Yeah, a lifetime ago. Eh? My goodness.
I think so. All right, I'll let you get on.
Okay, thanks you for joining, Christina. So, so you were saying, Jakob, there's some things you should not do or act, or there's something you should not wear. So what are the, if you want to say that the ABCs of diving with apex predator, Walter, if you want to take it like that?
Yeah, look, actions, number 1, don't act like prey. You know, what does food always try and do? Run away.
Mm-hmm.
If you, and a lot of apex predators, both on land and I feel with sharks as well, as soon as you act like prey, they are just naturally predisposed to act like predator. It's just an instinct in them. So panic, that kind of thing comes in. You trying to get away from the shark because it's just swimming up to you, and it was just most probably going to swim up to you and swim away, but because you've started acting in this panic frenzy to try and get away from it, suddenly that shark, now you're triggering its attack mode, you know, from being just cruising around now into seriously looking at you as food. So in the water, you want to stay as calm as possible. You want to be very vigilant. You know, they can sense everything that's going on. And I was just listening to scientists the other day talking about consciousness, you know, and your thoughts are actually not just your thoughts. Your thoughts are radiating out to the whole world and affects everything around you. And I think in a similar way, when you're diving with sharks, the more calm you are internally, and the more calm you are in interacting with these animals, the better the interaction is. As far as you know, people, I don't know, scientists say that the sharks can't see color. They can't differentiate between silver and white. Well, I can tell you, I've had so many experiences. Hello, Ma. I just saw her walk past.
Yeah, but that's difference between white and silver. But what about red? Because someone is asking here about the red fin. I don't know why.
No, well, red.
What do you think of red fin?
Red's the first color you lose underwater. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
So you know, it's the flashy colors, and I can tell you, you will dive with silver fins 100 times and not have any problems. I have many divers. I said to you, look, I had a good friend of mine who had these silver fins, like proper silver fins. And I said to him, we were diving somewhere with great whites, and I won't mention names or places. And I said to him, look, if you come to South Africa, do not wear those fins. So he said, but why? I've been diving all over the world with these fins. I said, well, they're eating silver things like attached to your feet, you know, and especially at the extremities where they move, and you can, you know, there's a movement, there's a flash, there's some kindling of interest. Well, off we went, and he had the most harrowing experience with this great white, and he never put those fins on again. So, and I have many instances like that, where sharks have been interested in different colors, that yellowy green color, very interested in that. So colors, in my opinion, in my experience, they do attract attention. So the plain you are, the better you are. I don't know, you know, when I think about like Christina in a completely silver suit, she's, I wonder sometimes how come she's not sort of nibbled more often. I don't know what happens in that situation, but I would spray my suit, silver suit, black, that's for sure.
Fantastic. So telling us, Walter, that you should not act like a prey. You should actually be avoiding some colors, and depending on where you're diving. So silver and white in your, for example, in South Africa is not quite thing. What do you think of shorties or shorts or actually skin, like we say?
Your skin is very white, eh? Look at those. Look at those. Well, look at those divers in the Red Sea. Some of those divers that were attacked were wearing shorties, and the attack was on the calf that was moving. You can see that white in the water 2 miles away, and that shark went straight for that. The other one I saw, he was totally unaware of what was going on around him, and he was swimming away from the group back to the anchor line. Unbeknown to him, the Longimanus came up behind him, and saw that maybe that action of swimming away as acting like food, maybe, and got him interested. And then he had this deploy buoy dangling on the side. And I don't know what, you can't see clearly what that deploy buoy color is, but that's what gets the shark's attention and eventually ends up biting him in the leg or the calf or whatever. But the initial attraction was completely something different that could have been avoided, in my opinion.
I hope so. Christina is telling you, Walter, because she's working with the Caribbean reef, and silver does not affect them. So the suit is not an issue there. So how do you prepare mentally, Walter, for jumping with the apex predators? Or how would you actually tell people to prepare mentally if anyone would like to have this kind of dive?
You know, initially it was a little bit difficult. I would go out on my own, just with my top man, and dive in the early days. And
you would go on your own.
Yeah, just to experience it on my own, to see how I could handle it on my own, you know. And I can tell you, it is nerve-wracking to be in the water. In those days, we used to get up to 9 tigers around you, and put yourself in the water next to a bit of bait on your own, and you will get a feeling like you've never had before. Of course. You've got to try and completely keep yourself calm all the time, relax. You know, you gotta calm yourself down, type of thing, because you know it's behind me, and it's behind, and it's another one. You end up going crazy. I would maybe last 20 minutes, then I'd have to get out the water. But I think whenever you're going diving with great white, not great white, but any of the apex predators, you've got to go with somebody who's experienced, who can tell you, this is what you must do. This is, you know, give you the basic briefing as to expect how to behave in certain situations. What happens if this happens? You know, then we're going to behave like that. And how are we going to position ourselves during the dive? What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? Etc. Etc. Yes. And for me, that's an important preparation for diving. Everybody is scared. Like I told you, I'm scared when I jump in the water because I don't know what's going to be there. You know, sometimes it's only black tips, sometimes it'll be bull sharks, sometimes it'll be tigers. But you know, you don't let that fear get the better of you, because panic is bad, as I said just now.
Okay, guys, I think on this lovely information that Walter has actually used to try everything on his own, jumping with nine tigers. So what do you think, Walter? I'm gonna throw in a lovely video that you like and let people really get a taste of what does it like to be in the water with apex predators, and then you can actually tell us what you think of this video. Okay, so I'm gonna share it with everyone.
Surprise video one.
Yeah, let's see how it's gonna go. Guys, can you see my screen?
I can see, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this was the dive of a lifetime, man. And it was
you can keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about this dive, but
say again.
Tell us about this dive.
We unfortunately for the whale that got hit by a passing ship or something like that, and we had this whale floating out here for 2 days before it got sort of taken away by the currents. And it was, I think, the only dive where we have all 3 apex predators on one dive. We've got tigers, there's the great white, and we had the bull shark pass just now. When we got there, we were out riding our bikes in the bush, doing some enduro riding, and the guy working for me on the boats phoned me and said, there's a whale out here full of sharks. and we finished our ride and only got on this whale at about lunchtime. You can see the visibility is not very good. So when we got there, there was about five boats. They were all putting their cameras in the water from the side of the boat and taking pictures and videos.
No one jumping in, huh?
Yeah, no, well, there wasn't anybody in the water. And
Okay.
yeah, I had to jump and have a look. And, you know, anybody that tells you they're not scared when they get in the water in this situation, there must have been 20 tigers. I mean, if there were 20 tigers, there were, I don't know how many tigers, honestly, all sizes and shapes. There were 2 great whites, 1 Zambezi bull shark, and hundreds of other sharks, black tips, duskies, some things that I didn't even know what they were. So it was a ball of shark activity around this whale like I've never seen before, and it rates amongst one of the best dives I've done. The only one I would say that was better than this. Where have you ever seen a great white and a tiger cross each other in the same frame?
Yeah, and they don't mind having each other, really.
It still makes me excited watching this video. Look at all those tigers.
And they really didn't mind having you divers there, right? Was it really?
Yeah, no, it's there's a black tip, more tigers. There were really plenty of sharks.
That's fantastic videos, actually.
I'm so happy that I had the opportunity and the courage in the water, because all the people were saying the visibility is too bad, you can't dive. But we went for it, and what a fantastic experience.
Was it your idea, Walter, to jump in the water?
Say again?
Was it your idea to jump in?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I convinced a lot of other people to get in on that day as well. Some photographers, oh no, the viz is bad, we won't get a nice picture. I said, forget about the picture. Come and experience it.
Of course.
Just come and experience it. And one of those was Alan Walker, local photographer here. And we shared that experience. You know, I would go with him right up to that great white. When it was fighting the tiger, I would watch his back and he'd take the photos. And you know, as a guide, a lot of, besides the safety of the divers, I know I look at the cameraman, what type of pictures they're trying to get, and try and facilitate that, try and get that all going so that they go away with the picture that they had in mind. Maybe I'll create a different opportunity for them that they hadn't thought about, you know, try this, try that. And I really enjoy that kind of work.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take a few questions for you, Walter, from the people sending in. So Becky is asking you, how did you come up with your bait ball composition?
Oh, sure. You know, when we started, we were using plastic drums, 25-liter plastic drums, and the tigers would absolutely destroy these in a single bite. So I decided to make the first drum from a stainless steel washing machine, and the inner drum of the washing machine is a nice drum full of holes. It works perfectly. And the problem was, Wolfgang actually was the one that pointed it out to me. I forget his surname, and he just passed away a couple of years ago. And you know, the tigers were actually breaking their teeth on those steel drums. And from there, we decided, like, what can we do to have a more eco-friendly system, where if the tiger or any shark in a mouth drum, it wouldn't harm itself. It wouldn't break its teeth. And we eventually came up with the idea of the actual ball, and to make the ball big enough so that the shark couldn't actually get a grip on it, being a spear like that. And since then, everybody that's doing it in the area here has followed suit, and it works very well. You know, it contains the food, and it doesn't allow the shark to get damaged when it's trying to bite it.
Very fantastic. You have one more question coming in, is asking you, is diving with the great white shark is different than diving with other apex predators?
I found them exactly the same, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Applied exactly the same rules as applied to the bull sharks and the tigers. They behaved in exactly the same way. Just like the other apex predators, the younger ones are a bit more curious, and the older, bigger ones are a bit more calm. So all the greats I've dived with, you could see in that video with the whale, you know, you could swim right next to it, film it from whatever angle you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a fantastic model, you know. The other great whites I've dived with have been all the same, exactly the same.
So which one is your favorite shark to dive with, Walter?
Look, the tigers are definitely my favorite. They're a beautiful shark. They've got nice big eyes. They've got like teddy bear eyes, you know, and you can get some that have got such a fantastic nature. You know, every shark has got a different nature, like humans, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe on the day, you can get one that's a bit ticked off, you know. But in general, they seem to have, you know, they seem to be able to interact with us as divers a little bit more, if you want that interaction. And that's some
Yeah,
people,
if you, that's a very good one. If you want it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I tell you, I had this one tiger shark. It was so friendly. It was a huge female. I mean, I don't know, 3.5, 4 meters. It was a big shark. And the way it would come up to me, I could just feel like, you know, I could do anything I wanted with the shark. I could touch it and play with it. And I ended up deciding that I had to kiss the shark. And the shark swam right up to me like I kissed like that grouper in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see the grouper in the background.
You can see it, yeah.
No, but the photographer, I won't mention the name, but they won't give me the pictures. But from the front, from the top, you can see me kissing the tiger, and from the side, the tiger's got its whole mouth open.
Whoa.
And it's like, I'm thinking, oh, this thing wants to French kiss here or something. It was unbelievable. So, you know, for me, the tigers are the ones I really like, the ones I like interacting with. And I've had some scary ones as well, but I've had like this one as well that, you know, it was just sharing the love type of thing.
So since we're still at the tigers, let me show them another video that you let's see this one.
What's the tigers now?
Yeah. Was this the one you were saying about?
Yeah, you know, actually very interesting, that video, because we were making a movie called Shark Man, and we were trying to learn how to put a tiger into tonic. And, you know, the traditional way to put a shark into tonic is to play with the ampulla lorenzini, overload them to extent where the shark goes into a hypnotic state, and then try and turn it over onto its back. And as you know, the tiger's got a very blunt nose, and a great white has got a very pointy nose. So when you touch that great white on the nose area, it would sort of go into this full trance kind of thing. And we were trying to apply the same method to the tigers. You can imagine it's got a flat nose for a reason, because it's feeding off the reef, it's feeding off sandbars on sand sharks and rays and that kind of thing. So if you're going to bump your nose into the reef all the time, you don't want all your sensitive organs to be there. Exactly the opposite. It relies on contact for heart reflex, because you know the lactate membrane, as it's going to bite or as it's going to make contact, it flicks its those protective membranes over its eyes, and then it's totally reliant on touch and smell and its other senses. So it would know when you touch it on the nose, it has an automatic bite reflex. It on the nose and couldn't understand why it was trying to bite us all the time, you know. And then I only thought about it logically like that. And one day I saw this tiger sort of go up to the bait bucket and just brush past it, you know, and it went into this, you know, very hypnotic, relaxed state. I thought, came back home, grabbed a couple of the photos from my friends. I don't have a camera. Sometimes I carry a GoPro. And I noticed that the ampulla lorenzini were more concentrated between the nostril and the eye.
And the eyes, okay.
Yes. So now you'll see on that video where I'm not touching it on the nose, more on the side between the nostril and the eye. That's where those senses are, and that's where we got our best results in the end, trying to get these sharks into tonic. We never really managed, but I will keep trying, eh?
Yeah, so now we'll go into Sammy's, because Sammy was under the impression that tonic immobility only worked on the small sharks and it doesn't work on the apex predators. So
well. I tell you, I think that the tonic, the actual tonic, is something natural in all sharks, and it's to do with their reproductive behavior. So you can imagine when two sharks mate, they haven't got hands to hold on to each other, so they've got to hold on with their teeth. On the body somewhere, okay? And when they're mating, in order for the female to become fertilized, the best position for her is upside down. And it's upside down for a length of time, so that you've got the maximum opportunity for those eggs to get fertilized. So I have never seen anybody put any of the apex predators, but I'm sure it's going to happen. Somebody is going to get it right. You know, I've seen Eli Martinez and those guys playing with the tigers and spinning the tigers, and they do to a certain extent, you know, going to that hypnotic state. But it's not total tonic. It's not a shark that's lying on its back completely relaxed.
yeah.
And Dr. Doug Gruper was the first to discover this thing. And in actual fact, he got, but not in the water, from the boat, where they turn the sharks over and keep them on their stomach, on their backs with the stomach up. That shark would go totally in. I could cut and those fingers into, sew them up again, and then let it go again. So tonic definitely, definitely can be achieved with the apex predators. You just got to be crazy enough to try, you know. Yeah, but you know, like tonic immobility, you know, it doesn't happen in one step. It happens as a progress. It's a system I use with the method I use with black tips. I just didn't do it suddenly. You know, it was playing. It was a shark would go past, and I would say, "Wow, you know, let's see with the nose, because the black tip's got a very pointed nose as well." But their movements and change of direction are so fast, and so they're an active shark that it's virtually impossible for you to get your hand near its nose, you know. So as you can see there, I used the same method that a male would use on the female by grabbing the pectoral fin and manipulating that into getting the shark to go into tonic. And there's one example of that photo by my friend Mr. Harry Stone. And I'm sure that same method will work for all sharks. I've tried it with the Longimanus. It will, and you want to be able to interact with these. You know, I love interacting with these wild animals, and it's putting your experience into practice to put the money where your mouth is. You know. Are you prepared to go and grab that shark by the pectoral fin? Because you don't know.
It's not that easy. Yeah, it's not. I don't know how it's going to react. What were you doing on this picture, Walter?
So yeah, put the shark in tonic. Because we're in mid water, it's in, you know, I've got to hold the pectoral fin and the dorsal fin to keep it stable. And you know, it's hard to lower the dorsal fin, and then I've done it before, but it's better if you can get somebody that's brave enough to go and play at the sharp end and pull the hook out.
So okay. You're pulling out some hooks.
Yeah, so Richard's put a hook. Usually I've got Chad, who's my instructor here. We never give each other the signal when we see a shark with a hook, and we pulled out quite a few hooks between us. I put them in tonic, and one of them, or either Chad or Richard, pulled the hooks out.
Okay. Yeah. So while we're still talking about tonic, you have to from people. Sharks need to move, breathe. You put them on top. What happened with that?
So
how can they breathe?
That's very interesting, because I was told that black tips were one of those sharks that if it stopped moving, you know, it would stop breathing. But in actual fact, if you watch while they tonic, and it's something they said didn't happen, but actually, you know, when the sharks are mating, they could mate at the sort of surface. You could be in 100 meters of water. The male grabs the female, puts it in tonic, and these sharks, the only shark I know that's not negatively buoyant is the spotted ragged-tooth shark. That's perfectly buoyant, neutrally, whereas all the others are negatively buoyant. So they would fall through the water column. And for those that don't breathe, or are unable to breathe, I don't know if there is such a shark that is unable to breathe when it's motionless. Then while it's falling in the water column, there is water sort of ventilating through the gill area. But when I do put my first tiger into full tonic, then I'm going to watch and see if it is ventilating its gills or not. So at this stage, it's a mute point, you know,
Yeah.
because the black tips were one of the sharks that said cannot stay still and ventilate itself. It's got to move. And, you know, I've proved that wrong completely. And I'm sure it was probably going to be disproved amongst all the other sharks. I mean, how did they come up with this theory? Think about it. Yeah?
So is it easier, Walter?
Hold a shark in mid-water and let's see,
Yeah.
does the shark die? You know, it's sometimes what scientists say is, look, correct. And sometimes, you know, we need to assess it a bit before we believe everything they say.
Yeah. So is it easier to put female sharks into tonic state than male, or doesn't make difference?
I haven't been able to put a male black tip in tonic, only female. Also, I don't know, but it seems like they come into season, like animals, like dogs, cats. They come into season and then they want to breed. Now, I don't know if sharks all come into season at the same time, but it seems that certain females will allow you to put them in tonic, and others won't entertain it. So it's got to be a mutual thing that happens. It's not like you go out there, you grab the shark, you put it in tonic. No, that shark, if it doesn't want to be put into tonic, will let you know very quickly. It'll either evade you or just like move its fin away, or if you do manage to grab its fin, just take off and swim fast and get away from you in that way. So why some females do and why some females don't, my theory is that it could be linked to their mating cycles, like some coming into season, some not in season. I don't know the reason. I'm purely speculating.
I remember when we were together in the water, in the water together, Walter, and I would see you first trying to point out or choose which shark you will try to grab the fin and actually put into tonic. How would you choose that? How would you choose the shark to put in tonic?
Well, you know, when you maybe, you know, I'll show you the shark that will go into tonic. But before I show you that shark, it swam past me a couple of times. And when it swims past me, I just touch its fin, you know, with my hand. I'll touch its fin and I'll gauge its reaction. And from its reaction to me, just putting my hand out, just physically touching it, you know, sometimes just putting your hand out is enough for me to know that shark is not interested, you know. It finds you very ugly. It does not want to make it.
So you're gauging reactions, and actually that
Yes.
tells you
Yeah.
if it's gonna go for your full tonic or no. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I can gauge just by touching them which one. This one is likely. This one definitely not likely. So I can point out the shark that you should try with, rather than waste your time with all the sharks around you. Maybe, I don't know, with Christina and the way she manipulates the Ampulla lorenzini and they just lie there, magnificent. I've got to do that one day. And I don't know, she was saying the other night as well that some will allow her and some won't allow her. Some are more predisposed to it and some are not. So, you know, each shark's a bit different. The reason why they will and they won't, well, that's anybody's guess.
Yeah.
But I say it's definitely linked to the mating somehow.
And do you think, Walter, that putting the sharks into tonic, it's actually doing harm to the shark?
No, it's a natural thing. So, and as I said, it's not a forced thing. You can't force a shark to go into tonic.
Exactly.
If it doesn't want to, you can do what you want all day long. You know, you can't make a wild animal just do what you want. You know, other people might have different experiences, but I find the more forceful you are, the less your results. The more soft you are, and I mean really soft and gentle, the better your results with sharks. I often see people on video, like rubbing their noses, like frantically, you know, the ampulla lorenzini. And in my experience, the more gentle you are in touch and feel, the better the result is from the shark. So yes, like that.
And I see actually Christina is agreeing with you. She's saying very true. You cannot force it. They have to decide. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and there are more and more questions about male sharks, and they don't like tonic, and they would feel harm from a tonic. I don't know. I have no actually exact information about that. But if you have
maybe, one, maybe. I don't know if Christina's got more experience with that, because we don't have a lot of males here. So I don't have a lot of males to interact with. They're all females for some reason. All the tigers we get here, I would say 99% female. We used to get a male January, February. You were very lucky to see a male. And with the black tips, exactly the same thing. They're all females. And it's very rare to see a male. You maybe see one in a group of 50 females. So also, I think it's important that the female is the one that's upside down, because she's the one that's got to contain the semen to make sure that those eggs are fertilized. Whereas if she stayed the right way up, then you've got more of a chance of it not leaking out. Whatever. I don't want to go into that too much, but you know what I'm talking about.
Do you have any idea about the depth they will be when mating?
No, I've got no idea. I've never seen any of the sharks mating. So the first people that would see a great white mate, a tiger mating, or whatever the shark is, they have got videos of spotted ragged-toothed mating, because there's so many in captivity, and they seem to do quite well in captivity. So, and that happens, you know, close to the ground. And those sharks, anyway, are so neutrally buoyant that they can just hover there, you know.
So we have another comment. Christina is telling you that they have wild nurse sharks mating in less than 2 feet of water by the beach. So yeah, that's answering Spyron here. Also, he has some. Have seen some experience similar to that, having a very shallow depth. So leaving the tigers, and take us a bit more to talk about the bull sharks. And I know that you come up, I don't want to come up, but you have a very famous saying and a very famous ring when it concerns to the bull ring, to the bull sharks. So I'm going to put a video on the bull ring, and then you can also talk us through that, Walter. Okay?
Okay.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's a shark that's responsible for most of the shark bites and shark attacks. Him and Longimanus, I suppose, are the two famous ones. Very misunderstood shark, eh? And as you can see here, we're swimming. How many did we have around us that day?
I think they were about 8 or 9.
Yeah. There's some nice big females there, and as you can see, very relaxed and fantastic dive. I didn't feel threatened by them at all, although I did notice that you needed to control them a bit more with the bait than for instance, or anything like that. They started getting very competitive. There was a lot of food coming out. That's a handsome bugger. And fantastic dive. It's different to all the other bull shark dives in the world. This is in open water, so there's water all around you, as opposed to being on the bottom and like in Mexico and in Fiji. It just adds another dimension to the whole dive, you know.
But why they didn't feel very, as you mentioned, no one really on this dive feel threatened by them. Still, when you're saying that the bull sharks are responsible for the number one accidents globally, but they didn't feel any of that on this day or on this dive, or maybe on this the whole time we did this dive. Was it the location, or the fact it was in mid water, or what?
No, I just I think it's our behavior in the water. You know, if we behave correctly, if we observe the rules when we're doing these dives, then you know we can pretty much predict how they're going to behave. And it doesn't matter if it's a tiger, a bull shark, or a great white. Bear in mind that what I'm saying pertains to our waters here, more specifically the Aliwal Shoal.
Yeah.
And when you go to different areas, sharks behave differently.
Absolutely.
They learn different feeding techniques, maybe. So listen to what those people tell you. If they say don't do this, well, then don't do it, because they're telling you that for a reason. You know, they've been to the school of Knox. They've experienced that X plus Y equals Z. So no more X plus Y.
Do bull sharks react in a bad way to photographers' strobes?
All sharks love strobes.
Okay.
So
watch out, Anya, on your strobes.
Electronic devices are definitely an attraction. Strobes especially. It's something about that strobe, when it loads up to fire again, it just gives off a signal that they can't resist. The closer you are to the food, the more the reaction is. So as a photographer, you got to expect that and know it's coming. To chuck a person in the water with two big strobes and not tell them or prepare them for that possible eventuality, is a bit unfair. And it's always part of our briefing.
Did you ever try to put some trackers on bull sharks or any sharks, Walter?
Did I ever try to
put some trackers? Tag them? Tagging?
Days, they did put some pingers on a few tigers here on the Aliwal Shoal. But all the money is spent on great whites. They do all the research. Everything is great whites, great whites, great whites, great whites. And it's unfortunate because all our sharks need protection, not just the great whites. And to protect them, we need to know their behavior, their habitat, how far they travel. I'm not fully into this very evasive way of scientists putting these tags and things on. Some of it's actually barbaric. You know, the pieces of metal that they shove into these animals is, I'm totally against it. You know, there's got to be some way, some eco-friendly way of attaching a tag that's not detrimental to that shark's health. And they feel pain. Please, you can, when you're playing with that hook, you can feel that, there's something going on there. Or if one swim past with a line and you grab the line to break it off, as you put tension on the line, you can physically see that pain that shark's getting from that hook. So, yeah.
I've been trying to dodge this question, but it keeps on bouncing back. Like this is the third time, so I'm gonna have to say it. Okay. So did you have any bad experience or something bad happened with you with a bull shark in specific, or any other shark? You can tell us about this story.
The School of Knox, The school of knocks. You go through the school of knocks, and sometimes you come out with some minor scars and abrasions, and sometimes you come out with a bit bigger scars and abrasions. But yeah, no, I've had maybe I don't know how many stitches in my hand. I've been bitten many times.
Do you remember any specific story? One of them you can tell them.
One was with the only tiger that's bitten me, and that was when we were doing that movie Shark Man, and we sort of hadn't learned all the rules yet. And what happened was we were when we played with these tigers to try and put them into tonic or whatever, they would like get into like a slight hypnotic state and then drift away and sort of circle away in the distance for about 10 minutes and then come back and play some more. And I had been playing with this tiger, and it sort of got out of my grasp and swam away. And I thought, okay, there it goes. It was my fault for becoming, what's the word? Too complacent.
Mm-hmm.
Too complacent with these sharks. I saw it swimming away, and I automatically thought, oh, the shark's swimming away. Turned around and swam back to the bucket. As I swam back to the bucket, the shark also turned around and now saw me swimming away. And again, you know, that predator instinct, there's food, there's this thing swimming away, it's acting like food, and it actually swam up behind me, and I was so lucky because the first bite it took was across my fin like that. And I thought a diver was calling me. And at the second bite grabbed my whole foot up to my ankle in its mouth. and I could feel the teeth coming through. And at this stage now, I was thinking like, what the, you know? And I could feel the teeth coming through my wetsuit. And I think the fin, because the fin was sideways in its mouth like that, it thought it had something instead of like that, where, you know, and it just gave me that split second that I could pull my foot out of its mouth. And that was 28 staples and a little bit of PTSD, you know. But when somebody touched me, I would go into a shock. Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Well, you know, you get it with sharks as well, I can tell you.
Yeah,
my friend Richard, he really used to make me scared, and I suppose got me over it. He'd come and grab me from behind every now and then. But that's the only bad bite I've got. The black tips, all the black tips that have bitten me, and on the hand, it's been like 5 stitches, 8 stitches.
Yeah.
But it's my mistake. I've had the food in my hand, and I'm not concentrating what I'm doing. I'm getting a bit blasé, and bang. But when they bite you, they know straight away that you're not food. And it's
they do.
You pulling your hand out that causes most of the damage than if you just waited it out and let them open their mouth. But I'm not that calm.
That's a human reaction. I think it's very difficult to just wait while having the sharks like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So Walter, apart from being calm, apart from not doing prey behavior, like you're mentioning, what other things that you would recommend for divers to do when diving with apex sharks, especially because the questions come in, especially when things went wrong? So if you think that the situation is going out of hand or something went wrong, what other than being calm you should actually recommend for people to do?
Yeah, look, with these sharks, you know, they always pick out the individual. So the best protection is the group, like the sardines or whatever. I don't know if it works the same way, but it definitely works with us. So if you feel the situation is getting out of hand, getting back together in a group as opposed to scattering and being individuals definitely presents a bigger picture to the shark that it's not familiar with. Yeah. the whole drive in our behavior in the water and how we tell people to behave when they enter the water, to warn them about certain things, do this, don't do this, is all driven at keeping that shark away from the attack mode. And I haven't had an experience where the group has been behaving correctly and we've had that attack mode triggered at all. So it shows that it works, you know, putting all the mistakes we've done along through the years, learning from them and applying them to every dive has shown that we can dive with these apex predators. It doesn't matter what kind of apex predator it is. I'm making you hot, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's winter, my friend. Jeez, I nearly put my jacket in. Yeah.
So fantastic. I know you have specific opinion about fishing lines, long lines, and all these kind of lovely things you like. Yeah. So I know you wanted to mention these and tell us something about that. So
the only thing I can tell everybody, and if I can just get one person to do it, stop eating fish. Stop eating fish. If you go and catch that fish yourself, you eat it, well done, no problem. But for that plate of fish on your table that you go to the restaurant for, or you buy at the supermarket or whatever, the bycatch and damage that is done, those trawlers and things have done to our ocean is terrible. It is mind-blowing what's going on out there. What's going on with that's just fish, you know, like from prawns to your snappers, whatever, to our sardines even. You know, we've got people in first world countries that say, oh, we eco-friendly, we are fantastic, you know, we first world countries. They are predating on third world countries like us. You know, they make us catch our sharks and then send them over to them as fish and chips, you know, like Australia, flake and chips, all that flake and chips is sharks from South Africa. They are decimating our sharks to feed them fish and chips. In Canada, you've got your salmon. You know, they say, oh, the salmon are fed in pens and things, and they're bred, and what they fed. You know, they fed the sardines that are caught here in our waters. They net those sardines, they make dry pellets out of them, ship them over there and feed them. So how eco-friendly is it really? You know, there's only one way, and that's we should stop eating fish. And if one person will stop, then, you know, I've done a job. I only need to convince one person.
You have one already. You have Spyro here from Mexico. He's telling you that he stopped eating anything coming out of the sea since ever he started diving. So even seaweed. So you have someone already convinced. So that's a good start.
Fantastic. I think the only thing that's sustainable is your mussels or your oyster farming. You know, where they've got those things just hanging, plankton feeders. I can't see a problem with that. But every other type of fishing that there is detrimental to our ocean. And what's going on with our sharks is absolutely tragic. You know, I don't know what percentage of our population actually believes that sharks have a positive role to play in our oceans. Most people have got the idea a good shark is a dead shark, you know?
Yeah.
And the natural fear that people have got of sharks is exploited. Very much like this virus story that we've got now. I think a very similar deep-rooted fear is triggered by these unknowns, dying of these unknowns. And a shark, dying by shark attack is one of those. And people will go to all kinds of lengths to make sure that you know, the ocean is a swimming pool. Our ocean cannot be a swimming pool. You know, our ocean, I'm going to tell you a secret now. Don't tell anybody. There are sharks in our ocean. And that is their home. That is their home. If you go and swim in it and you get attacked, well, hell, man, you know, it's tragic, okay? But compare that to what's going on with road accidents and people dying from bee stings. We don't say go kill all the bees. You know, people get killed by coconuts falling on their heads. It's ludicrous, this attitude we've got. And unfortunately, I would go far to say that 90% of our population don't give a shit what happened with sharks.
That's true. That's sadly true.
So we've got to change that perception. And it's a very slow process. We've got to get those tree huggers to say it's not only whales and dolphins and turtles that we've got to look after, it's sharks as well. You know, maybe that song, you know, that shark, no, shark. Yeah. You know, you wanna get stuff like that kids start seeing sharks in a different light. It's the only way we're going to save them. The only person, they'll only look after, protect what they love. You only protect what you love. You know?
That's fantastic. That's really
good. To make people learn to love sharks like they love the dolphins. Maybe because they didn't make movies like Flipper. You know,
maybe so. Yeah.
Imagine Sharky, the friendly shark.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the movie. They should make an animated movie like that. You know, yeah. What can I tell you?
No. I really don't know what else to tell you guys, but we should be really thankful and so lucky for having two of our sports great with us. So one more time, I'm loving to thank Walter for giving us this chance and being with us, being super late on him. 10:30 already is way past his schedule, I know. And also thank you for Christina for joining us. Having two of the great with us in one place is fantastic. Thank you, technology, for all that. Guys, if you have any last minute questions, actually, I want to sneak it in. I will. If not, thank you all for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and hope to see you all soon. Walter will be with us one more time later for another episode on diving in the sardine run, because he's one of the experts, if not the expert on this. So this one will be talking about it later. But again, one more time, thank you all for joining us, and hope to see you soon.